You're welcome back. The Federal Executive Council in its sitting last week approved the rehabilitation of Port Harcourt Refinery at the cost of $1.5 billion.
Well, the approval has generated mixed reactions from several quarters as to the propriety otherwise of the overhaul of the Port Harcourt Refinery.
And to give us clarification into the project is Dr. Brown Ogbesun, oil and gas expert. He's joining us via Zoom from Warri. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so very much, madam. Thank you, NTA. Good morning, Nigerians.
And here with us in the Abuja studios is Desmond Utoma. He's a public affairs analyst. It's a pleasure to have you with us this morning.
Our pleasure to be with you here. Thank you. And good morning.
All right, so let's begin with Dr. Brown Ogbesun. Well, of course, you are aware of the heated debate generated by the announcement of the proposed rehabilitation of the Port Harcourt Refinery at a cost of some $1.5 billion US. Are the reactions warranted in terms of those who have said, look, don't do this, or those who have said, no, we must do it?
Thank you once again, the NTA, and once again, thank you for having me. Before answering that, I just want to put some rhetorical questions, which of course I'm going to provide answers to quickly. First, this is an emotive thing, because there are those that would have wished to scrap the PHRC, buy it, and then turn it around like they did to one of the petrochemical plants, and versus those who believe that national assets and indeed that Nigeria must produce its own fuel because of the fact that we have enormous hydrocarbon within Nigeria. So two, the 1.5 billion, yes, it looks so big, but by the time we take on these discussions, we find out that when you have a refinery of about 210,000 barrels, refining capacity per day, and you want to build a new one, you are going to be sourcing for close to about $10 billion US. So we're going to just suppose that maybe as we continue, like I said. And this 1.5 billion naira dollars, I don't think it is just coming from the federal government's pocket. It is going to be sourced, and that is how business should be done. Third, I believe that if the NMBC had been an autonomous body with a private entity cap like other multinationals, the NMBC would ordinarily have gone to source for its own funds. All right? And then nobody today would question Shell, Chevron, Mobil, how they get their funds. So if the NMPC is a truly commercialized entity, it will have been able to source for its funds, do its own business, and nobody is going to question that. Therefore, let me again say that the future of the hydrocarbon industry in this country lies in the quick passage of the PIB, right? Today, not tomorrow, because the bill is going to create a new NMPC that will expand and keep the downstream sector very active, pay taxes to federal government like the LLNG, and of course, pay its own royalty. We need to ask, what do Nigerians really want? President Obasanjo, during his, at the twilight of his administration, decided to privatize the refineries. The labor movement fought it, rightly so, because they believe that the strategic national assets should not go to, some level of hands that you are not too sure, and that you must privatize using those who have experience in running refineries. Nigerians also believed in that at that particular time. And what did they do? They pressured President Yar'Adua, who reversed the sales. And in 2015, I think the APC government, the PDP said, by Atiku Abubakar, the former vice president, said, if elected, he was going to privatize the refineries. And of course, the APC stood against it and said, no, you don't do that. And at the end of the day, I'm sure former Vice President Atiku lost some votes through that. And now this government that promised that they were going to build new refineries or revitalize and rehabilitate the refineries also want to do it, yet Nigerians are giving it enough. So the question is, what do we need from government? Is it that refineries must run, give us service, Or we just believe that you need to scrap it and then begin to import petroleum products. For me, any model can run any of the refineries, any model at all. It is dependent on the willpower of government or whosoever owns the refinery to run it with best practices. We are quick to benchmark with the United States of America. And because of that, I also want to use it to give my own example on why we need our own refineries to work. America, as it is today, in the state of Texas, has about 47 operating refineries. Louisiana has 19. California has 18. Yes, many people will say that they are privately managed. And Pengassan, I remember in 2004, had told the federal government that they need to use the NLNG model in running the refineries. And some of these refineries in Texas are having about 500,000 to about 607,000 productions per day. And it will interest you to know that Saudi Aramco, all the way from Saudi Arabia, has one of the biggest refineries right there in the US. So what is wrong in having our own? More so that you don't have money to build a new one, and you have people that can loan you money to refurbish it and have a new refinery. Because what people think is that they want to do a turnaround maintenance. I don't think that is what I got from the federal government's approval. What I got from it is that they want to do a total rehabilitation of the refinery. And that is different from routine term, which is supposed to be every 2 months. Term is that it is a routine thing that you do to maintain it. And that refinery, for instance, has not been turned around for the past 21 years. Let us look at our cars, for instance. If your car begins to smoke, you go to your mechanic. Your mechanic tells you, oh, the piston is bad. Oh, the other one is bad. We need to buy half engine. By the time you are going to buy that half engine, you are going to spend money putting it. And so what we are having today is because of the failure of what we refused to do in the past. So rehabilitating the refinery means that you are going to remove some of those critical parts. You are going to upgrade it, and then you are going to make it run to about 90% capacity. And that refinery has about could produce about 10 million liters of petroleum, of PMS per day. And when you rehabilitate it and it works, then you are now going to be benefiting from the forex that you are going to conserve, because you are not going to be spending that forex to import about 10 million liters per day. And what does that mean? It also means that most of the mega filling stations that you have in and around Nigeria could easily be serviced. And that has been the saving grace of most Nigerians, even when you have fuel scarcity.
Dr. Brown, thank you so much. We now have to come back to the studio because we're sort of running out of time. Desmond, yeah. Dr. Brown has sort of painted a picture that most Nigerians are not, likely to like, because the knock on this project is that so much money has been put into rehabilitation of these refineries and nothing has happened. We've had oil boom from oil boom up. Some Nigerians are even saying this shouldn't have happened in the first place. So what are the dynamics, and, the economics of the rehabilitation and building new refineries if we have to do that?
Yeah, I think Dr. Brown has already laid a solid foundation with regards to the economics. If you look at it, if you have to build a new refinery, definitely you're going to spend so much money. All right, the cheapest is out there for about 230,000 barrels per day capacity, like we saw in Brazil, is about $12 billion. So if you are to build a refinery here, so you have to start thinking about budgeting about $12 billion as against the $1.5 billion. The question is, do you have the money? And if you don't have the money, so you go for the cheaper option, which is rehabilitation. And from what the minister has said and what I was made to understand, this rehabilitation is not just the regular turnaround maintenance. It is a comprehensive overhaul of the refinery. That at the end of the day, you are almost likely going to have a brand new refinery. So I think that is cost effective if you must look at it from that perspective. If you also look at it, what are the benefits of having these refineries to work as against just selling it off? One, if you have to sell it off, you probably might be selling it off as scrap because it's currently not functional. So you don't just go to the market, you want to dispose something that is not working. So you probably will have to put it in a better shape before you can start thinking of selling it off. People who want to buy it will now price it better than it were. Again, if we don't fix it, if we don't, and we're unable to sell it, Nigerians are subjected to all of the challenges of buying fuel at a high price. We know what it is. Only a few weeks ago, we talked about the landing cost, about 212 naira. And we saw the uproar in the country that Nigerians can't pay that kind of money from the 165 naira that it is currently. That is because of the landing cost of petroleum products. So we need to refine our products back home. So how do we start doing this? We have to fix our refinery. All right. There's also a strategic part of it which has to do with energy security. And because this is also a strategic national asset, you can rightly boast that because this belongs to the country, you have some level of security as against just depending on importation. Yeah, somebody will always say that Dangote Refinery is by the corner. It will be coming up anytime soon. But don't forget, that is business. All right? By the time Dangote also come upstream, if he decides to sell at the prevailing market price, all right, you can't stop him because he's an individual that has built that refinery. So, by and large, I think it is better that the government is taking this decision to rehabilitate this refinery, that at the end of the day, if it works, it will be in the interest of everybody. What our focus should be now is how do we support this initiative, one, and two, how do we keep asking the right questions so that we don't have the kind of experiences that we probably must have had before. The controversies out there are understandable because some people believe that you have spent money previously, it didn't quite work. So there is a tendency that this time around it still might not work. Yes, it is justifiable that you have all of those concerns out there. But I think the model that is put in place in this time around, is something that is worth commending. The ORM model, which shows that they operate and maintain, all right, and they generate the fund with which they are going to pay back this $1 billion that they are taking from Afri Bank that is going to sponsor this rehabilitation. Also, at the end of the day, you also look at it as a bank. They wouldn't want to put their money in a venture that they are not sure will not succeed. That means they must have done their due diligence before they are even advancing that kind of money. So I am tempted to agree with government, to agree with the NNPC and the federal government generally on this very line that they are trying to tow. And we expect that at the end of the day, we'll have a better deal from all of this.
It will be in 3 phases, 18 months, 24 months, 44 months. At what point do we expect it to start,
in 18 months, the first phase. Yeah, the minister explained that after 18 months, we may most likely have 90% functional of the refinery that can refine at 90%, which is about 180,000 barrels per stream day. Yeah, about 180,000 if you look at it, because the total capacity is about 210,000 capacity. So if they're able to put it to work for that 18 months, about 90% would have been churning out from there.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Desmond Utome. Just to get the closing thoughts, as it were, of Dr. Brown Ogbefun. Dr. Ogbefun, you asked a very pertinent question, exactly what do Nigerians want? We all remember what happened in 2007 when there was the uproar about Dangote taking over one of the refineries in Rivers. And then, of course, that transaction was eventually cancelled or revoked by the administration of President Yar'Adua. Today, you will also hear government officials saying, oh, we're going to rely on the Dangote private refinery in the Lekki-Ekpe axis of Lagos. But let's ask ourselves this question. There is a great deal of anxiety as to why the government will be spending $1.5 billion on one refinery. There are 2 refineries in the Rivers area. There's one at Onne. Kaduna Refinery is also there, and Warri Refinery is also there. The combined production of these 4 refineries, some persons argue, still falls short of our national needs. But we are singing the praise now of rehabilitating one refinery in another 4 years. When will the rehabilitation of the other 3 refineries begin? That's one question. Second question will also be, what exactly are we going to do with the management of those refineries, where we've been spending billions of naira each year, according to the audited accounts of the NNPC?
Thank you so very much. The fears of Nigerians are concerning. It is true that certain things didn't go well the way we would have loved it to be in the past as a nation. But recall that I did say that for a refinery that has not gone through turnaround maintenance for 21 years, and you want to rehabilitate it because you don't have money to build a new one, then it becomes necessary to rehabilitate, replace all the parts, make it new, turn it around. I don't think they are saying that it's going to be in the next 4 years, really. I know that that's the completion for the final phase, but at least in 18 months, I thought what I had was that in 18 months, it's going to, get to about 90% of its optimum capacity. Having said that, and with the two questions you have asked, if you want to start building a new refinery of between 250,000 to 500,000 barrels per day, for instance, you need about 5 to 7 years, all right, to complete it. And I want to tell you sincerely that building about 250,000 barrels will cost you close to about $10 billion US. We are talking of the two refineries in Port Harcourt, and you are having about combined capacity of about 210,000 barrels. So if you are liters, so if you are able to bring it to life, it means that Nigerians will have that economies of scale. Now, you talked about Dangote refinery, for instance. It's a good thing for Nigeria, but what I need to say is that we need more refineries. I just gave some numbers of what happens in some states where you have about 47 refineries. We need more to make Nigeria the hub of activities for hydrocarbon industry within the sub-region. Now, what does it mean for Nigeria? It will help us to cut the importation of petroleum products, lay foundation for co-location principles, for instance, all right, that will help other small value chain plants to begin to come up within the presence of the Port Harcourt refinery.
Okay, thank you so much. We're actually running out of time. We're on borrowed time now. Thank you, Dr. Brown Ogbesun, oil and gas expert. He joined us via Zoom from Warri. Thank you so much for your input. Desmond Utome, public affairs analyst. Thank you so much for your contribution this morning.
Thank you for having me.
And that's Good Morning Nigeria for today. Do you join us again tomorrow for another edition? I am Juma Yusuf.
And I'm Kingsley Sadolo. Thank you for being